What up, though, y'all? It's Chris, broadcasting from the D. We got another casualty from the left out there disparaging Charlie Kirk. You know, it's crazy because a lot of people who never heard of him before now know who he is. And that's a good or bad thing, I guess, depending on how you look at it. It's a lot of people who didn't know who he was who have now taken interest in his work and have went back to look at a lot of different clips, because there's a ton of clips of him out there at the colleges debating. But then you can look at it as a bad thing because the event that happened is what brought all this attention to him. So it's a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. But a lot of people know who he is now who had never heard of him before. In this case here, we have a teacher, Lisa Greenlee. She appears to be a high school teacher. She's a liberal white woman. No real surprise there, because we know no one hates straight white men more than liberal white women. Like, it's crazy how much they hate white men. It really needs to be studied. Not just white men, but straight white men. It needs to be studied. But a student in her class pulled out his phone and started recording her going on a rant about him, about how hateful he was, and he brought this on himself, and she has no empathy for him. And she praised the shooter, saying she praises the shooter. He had good aim. People, these are the ones responsible for teaching our children. Kids are in school, depending on the school, 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours a day, because they could have some sort of extracurricular stuff afterwards. That's a long time to be under somebody else's care. That's a long time to be under somebody else's influence. So your kids are going to school, and this is what they're hearing all throughout the day. It's this sort of message. Today, it's Charlie Kirk. On other days, it's nonsense about LGBTQ. On other days, it's stuff about Trump. But it's always these extremely over-the-top left messages. It's always the leftist stuff. And I'm starting to see where this problem is coming from, where these shooters, the age range that they are, because more often than not, they're teenagers or very young adults. And I'm seeing now a pattern here. They're being radicalized in the schools. It's not just college like we initially thought. We're like, oh, college campuses are indoctrination camps. They are, but it's not just colleges. We're seeing that it is in high schools, to a certain extent in middle schools. It's definitely in elementary schools, because that was one of the problems of you had the teachers coming to class, coming out to their students. I mean, I'm sorry. Why are you coming out to a bunch of 5-year-olds? They should be in there learning ABCs, 1, 2, 3, shapes and colors. And you're in there coming out to your students. I see videos of some of these insane nut job teachers crying about how they came out to their students, and their students were so accepting. Their students were so willing to respect their pronouns, and how a 1 5-year-old would correct the other 6-year-old if they use the wrong pronouns and whatnot. This is a serious problem, man. So think about this. If they start in on the kids at such a young age, 4, 5, 6 years old, then by the time they're in high school, 14, 15, 16, it's no wonder they're unhinged. They've been getting this anti-America, anti-conservative message since the single digits of age. Like, they've been getting stuff like this drilled into their head most of their life. It's really scary when you think about that. Constantly calling anyone who doesn't agree with them fascist. Listen, I have never heard that term so much before 2025. I've heard it plenty before, but 2025, it was just different. I have heard that thrown around by liberals so much. Basically, they don't even know the definition. They just call anyone who disagrees with them and their views, their lifestyle, whatever, a fascist. They call conservatives fascists about as much as feminists call men who disagree with them misogynists, because that's totally a thing. You got these feminists, they say all this ridiculous nonsense when they come across a masculine man that's a leader. Basically, the type of man that they always talk about is a real man, because they're quick to say a real man this, a real man that. But when they come across the very type of man that they describe as being a real man, and he checks them on the nonsense that they say, they then call that guy that in other discussions was the very description that they gave, he's a misogynist. So that's basically what it is. Fascist is their version of misogynist. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's become pretty scary. Fortunately, in this case, the teacher's been fired, but she's only been fired because that video went viral. Don't think for a second that the school didn't know what type of teacher she was. Don't think for a second. There's no way. That woman probably has a rainbow flag in the class, a Black Lives Matter flag in the class, and there's probably no American flag anywhere to be seen. It's obviously a Kamala voter, more likely than not. Probably hates Trump, talking about Trump's, basically Satan, if you will. They just always check the exact same boxes. And the schools constantly hire these very type of teachers. They hire these teachers, male and female, but mostly female, and the majority of the time, they're liberal white women. Unless it's inner city schools, then you get these loud, ignorant, masculine acting, liberal black women. But the majority of the time, they do seem to hire women, and these women lack all types of professionalism. There is no reason why you, as an educator, should be sitting up in class talking about how a young man, 31 years old, married, 2 kids, he's doing things the right way. He's doing things the way they're supposed to be done. He got married, he had kids, he's a provider, his wife doesn't work. He's, at least based on his faith, based on his beliefs, he's doing things the right way. Damn all that, because he said some things you disagree with. He's evil, he's hateful, and bless the shooter. The shooter had great aim. He got what he deserved. It's just insane, man. So I don't even know where to begin to fix a problem like this. But it is important that it is identified as a problem. These young men that become radicalized, you guys are thinking that this is just happening when they get in college. It's not. I know it seemed that way, but no. When they get in college, oftentimes is where it comes to a head. If it didn't already come to a head in high school, because for many others, that's when it comes to a head. But it starts where the seed is planted, is usually in elementary, and if somehow they were fortunate enough to avoid being brainwashed with this nonsense in elementary, it's highly likely the middle school that they go to is going to get them. By the time they're in high school, they're full-blown indoctrinated. And if they don't go off the rails then in college, it's something about college that gets the rest of them who didn't go off the rails in high school, they then go off the rails in college. I'm gonna leave it there though, you guys. Hit me with a like if you like what I do. Hit me with a sub if you like what I do. Hit me in them comments. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.